CTV News with Maya Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin with a tragic update to the weekend storm that blew through a park in LaSalle. The 3-year-old girl who was fighting for her life in hospital has died. She was critically injured when an inflatable castle flew into the air, carrying her and others with it. Geneviève Beauchemin joins us from LaSalle. And Geneviève, the coroner confirmed the girl's death earlier today.
Absolutely. The coroner's office confirmed the girl's death, and coroner Martine Lachance will be looking into the circumstances of her death. Now, this is tragic, devastating news to the people here in this community who had been hoping that the little girl would pull through. There have been people who have been coming here to Parc Ouellet, bringing teddy bears, bringing flowers in honor of the little girl. But there's also so many people who are thinking about the fact that just 2 days ago, this was the spot where there was this festive family celebration. People had come here from the local church here just a couple of blocks away. It's an event that is organized each year. People come here to celebrate this day. Families are here, and it was a festive occasion. We spoke to Bruno Rossi, who's a man who was helping out at the church, who was helping to organize the celebrations here, who talked about the fact that it was just such a horrifying sight to see. Here's what he had to say.
I just turned around, I saw this tent, this bouncy house fly maybe 60, 70 feet up in the air, and I heard someone say there's kids in there. And at that moment, my heart froze, and we all just didn't know what to do, and we saw it fly and hit a tent, I think it was, if I remember correctly, and then it hit the floor, and all I remember is all of us just started rushing to that bouncy house to try and get kids out.
Now, he's been replaying these images in his head since then, thinking of all those who were injured. 11 people were injured, 6 taken to hospital, Maya.
Just a terrible story, Geneviève, and it raises the question, I mean, how frequent are these kinds of accidents linked to these kinds of play structures?
So many of the parents who have been coming here to the park talking about that, just how often does something like this happen? There are statistics out there. There is the American Meteorological Association, who looked into the global data from over 2 decades and found that there were 138 accidents involving the wind picking up one of those inflatable structures, and about 500 people who were injured, nearly 30 who had died. Now, there will be a lot of questions asked over the next few days as to exactly how the structure was secured, what were the circumstances, just how strong the wind was, and if there are recommendations to be made, the coroner's office will be doing so.
All right, thank you very much for this update, Geneviève. Geneviève Beauchemin in LaSalle. The Prime Minister and the Premier have announced a major funding agreement for Quebec, $10 billion for infrastructure and public transit. Matt Grillo has details.
A majority of the money will go to public transit. More than $4 billion will be invested specifically in public transport projects. The Quebec City Tramway will benefit from this money. It is also very likely that the Metro's Blue Line extension will also receive some funding. Premier Christine Fréchette says when it comes to this funding deal, Quebec is getting more than its share from Ottawa. Fréchette points out a lot of infrastructure in Quebec was built decades ago, and they are coming to an end of life at the same time, so money is needed. The STM says today's announcement is excellent news, and the money will help the transit agency address a $7 billion asset maintenance deficit.
We sat down, we made the priorities, we're going to get on with it. It's what is good for Longueuil, for Quebec, for Canada, and now it's there. And the intention of everybody here is to make sure that these agreements move to action and investment.
We will have enough money to finance the rest of the project. So it is an important project. We have prioritized it, and I'm glad that with the announcement we are making today, it will be possible to have the complete budget to finance the extension of the Blue Line.
There will also be sums of money for health care, more than $1 billion over 3 years to upgrade and expand hospitals, and more than $2 billion to build housing, so more homes and community centers across Quebec. Matt Grillo, CTV News, Longueuil.
The City of Montreal says it's trying to reduce the risk of flooding during heavy rains. There are plans for a new retention basin, among other measures, but residents are also being asked to do their part. Angela McKenzie explains.
Water came in my house. The water came up from here.
This is Mike Zappia's third basement reno following a flood. He lives on La Girante Street in St. Leonard. Homes frequently flood here during heavy rain.
It goes to my garage, it goes to my kitchen, it goes everywhere. It's every time there's a rainstorm, I get flooded.
He says he's frustrated the storm sewer on his street hasn't been improved.
Locally, we want to retain as much water as possible and then slowly release it into sewers.
St. Leonard Borough Mayor Dominic Perry says the city is continuing to build sponge parks like this one to help direct rainwater away from homes. The city has announced nearly $70 million to build the Saint-Jacques Retention Basin. It's also looking into expanding the L'Angelier water collector in St. Leonard. Alan D'Souza is in charge of infrastructure for Montreal's executive committee. He says the city is doing more to respond to heavy rainstorms that are increasing in frequency.
We've got needs on water that total close to $15 billion in the next 10 years. So there's definitely not just water collectors, but a lot of our water infrastructure.
The city has also increased its Renoplex subsidies by $2 million for those adapting their homes to prevent flooding. In June, St. Leonard will offer workshops on flood prevention.
Climate change is here to stay. We have seen it that it's not getting better, it's getting worse, and therefore we all have to do our part.
But Zappia feels he's done enough.
How come they don't come and knock on my door and say, listen, okay, how much do you pay for your damages? $10,000? Okay, we'll give you $10,000. No, we have to pay.
And he says his insurance rates keep going up. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
Drivers have long complained about the state of Quebec's roads. Well, now they're no longer alone. A large coalition of road builders, contractors, and engineers are sharing their frustration. They say they have solutions to these bad roads, and they want the government to listen. Stéphane Giroux has that story.
For Quebec drivers, 2026 is turning out to be catastrophic.
It's more flat tires, more people needing help from us, so the numbers that we've seen through the start of the year were staggering.
Road builders, engineers, and transport experts formed a coalition to fight for better roads because traditional road building and repairs are no longer sustainable.
They've been doing pretty much the same thing over and over again without knowing that it was not, in some cases, the best thing to do for a road.
Engineers and road builders are now demanding 5 things from the province. Create a reserve fund for maintaining the road network, adopt new technologies, improve recycling of construction materials, standardize construction practices, and strengthen links between universities, industry, and government. One of the biggest obstacles that road builders are facing is that governments always award contracts to the lowest eligible bidder. And that leaves out any opportunities to try out new technologies. For example, a Quebec company called Canada Light Concrete developed a type of insulated layer that adds a level of protection under the pavement.
Particulièrement au MTQ, même si on a des projets de tests qui ont été validés par des laboratoires.
Our product was tested and approved in Quebec laboratories, but we can't bid on road contracts. The Ministry of Transports insists on the traditional cheap mix of gravel and asphalt. Contractors say the government should open up to innovation.
So a contract would allow the entrepreneur to have different materials, different design, and would guarantee the durability of the road for 10 years, I don't know, 15 years.
But the real obstacle, these experts say, is politics. Quick fixes to win votes.
There's a big relation between politics and money. I think that it should be split together.
Otherwise, they say, Quebecers may never see the end of bad roads. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
Transport Quebec is giving advance notice that the Vigier and Ville-Marie tunnels will be closed all weekend. Crews will be installing the steel framework for the Saint-Urbain overpass. To do that, all westbound lanes will be closed from the Panay Street entrance to Lucien Lallier. Eastbound drivers will be forced off at Mountain Street and able to re-enter at Panay. Full details are on our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. A racist rally in Shawinigan this past weekend prompted a show of unity at the National Assembly today, with all parties tabling motions against racism. Sweeta Rassi reports.
Le rassemblement à caractère raciste et suprémaciste.
First, it was the CAQ, then the Liberals, after that, Quebec Solidaire, and lastly, the PQ. All of them condemning the racist rally that took place in Shawinigan on Saturday. A picture on social media showed a group of roughly 20 masked individuals carrying a banner that reads in French, "I remember a white Quebec." All four motions were adopted unanimously. Earlier in the day, opposition parties made their stance clear.
It's not representative of Quebec, and it's not acceptable.
We need to elevate the discourse and the tone. In general, in Quebec politics, in Canadian politics, fortunately enough, in international politics.
But Quebec Solidaire says words are not enough.
But now we have to act also. The government has a responsibility.
Domestic Security Minister Yann Lafrenière says the province is doing what it can, pointing to the ministry dedicated to fighting against racism.
Is it over? No. Do we have problem with intolerance, racism? Absolutely. But we're fighting that.
Meanwhile, Quebec Provincial Police has opened an investigation into the rally. The minister responsible for the fight against racism says it will wait until the investigation is over before deciding if any action needs to be taken. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News, Quebec City.
The school year is coming to an end, the first school year where cell phones were completely banned across the province during school hours. So what has changed for the students? Matt Gilmore visited a high school today to find out.
Between classes at Royal West Academy, things feel and sound a little different.
It's really nice to see students talking to each other a lot more than they were in the past. The cafeteria is a lot noisier, the halls are a lot noisier, and it's a good thing.
This year, cell phones were banned from schools across the province, inside the classroom and in the halls. Physics teacher Adam Wiltzer says for the first time since the pandemic, the school has a community feel again.
It was eerily quiet, like at lunch and at recess, and all the students were sitting wherever on their phones, doing, looking at social media or playing games on their phones. And now students are almost forced to interact with each other.
Students say they already feel like they're better at communicating.
Our generation kind of went through COVID right before we came to high school. So I think that it had a huge effect on it, and people were very used to being on their phones way too much.
School principal David Lee says he's noticed a change in the student body as well, but believes the province-wide ban could be more flexible.
We still want to teach our kids to be responsible users rather than just an outright ban. But for now, it is the ministry's guidelines, so we are implementing it.
Beyond the school atmosphere, researchers studying teen mental health have not seen a clear benefit.
A lot of young people were sort of relying on smartphones as a way of coping with isolation and bullying at school, which doesn't mean that the phones were a solution here, but they were a distraction in the context of social isolation.
Vincent Paquin says banning the phones without addressing isolation won't help improve mental health.
At the end of the day, we're trying to prepare young people for the transition out of school. And we want them to know how to deal with a phone that's constantly asking for their attention.
So a year later, is the ban working? In some ways, yes. But if the goal is to teach teens how to have a healthy relationship with technology, there's still work to do. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
The PWHL champions, the Montreal Victorie, paid a visit to Ottawa this morning, and they had a special gift for a big supporter of women's hockey.
Honestly, to see you on the ice with Ottawa Charge, with the Prime Minister of Finland, it was unbelievable. We know we have you behind us to support us, and it was unbelievable. And we just want to share maybe one more jersey that you might want to exactly where it's going to go. Yeah. Here we go. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Well, as you can see, Prime Minister Mark Carney hosted Victoire team members on Parliament Hill. They are the first Canadian team to hoist the Walter Cup after beating the Ottawa Charge in the All-Canadian finals. Goalie Anne-Renée Desbiens says they're happy to be role models for young hockey stars of the future.
It's a big day for women's sport. It's a big day for women's, not only all across Canada, but all over the world. So we are so thankful for the lights you were able to shine on us, the lights that we're able to shine on women's. And I hope we're inspiring everybody, whether it's every little kid in Canada, every little kid across the world, to follow your dream, even if that dream is not possible yet when you grow up. So when you work hard to make things possible, great things happen.
The PWHL draft is on the 17th of this month. Next season's schedule will be released later this summer. Coming up, more trade talks.
Minister, what are the goals of this meeting?
What will come out of another trip to Washington? And running for his life, a man is attacked by a bear on a city street. The minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade is in Washington today. Dominic LeBlanc has meetings with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer ahead of CUSMA negotiations. Canada has already served notice that it wants the Continental Trade Pact renewed on a long-term basis. Abigail Bimman has the latest.
Minister, what are the goals of this meeting?
The goals of this meeting is to be able to tell you how well it's gone when we finish at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
The Canada-U.S. Trade Minister and Chief Negotiator in Washington to talk with the top U.S. Trade Rep, Jameson Greer. Dominic LeBlanc issued a letter to the U.S. and Mexico officially stating Canada's recommendation for a 16-year renewal of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement.
We took stock of the work that the Americans want to do with Canada and the work that we're prepared to do over the coming weeks. I remain optimistic about the work that we can do with the Americans.
While a delegation from Manitoba was also here Tuesday, separately meeting with other U.S. trade officials.
There's clearly a path forward. There's clearly an importance for both countries as well to find a solution to this. So, I think we heard clearly what some of those irritants were. I think there's a path that we can make these kind of go away as well, though.
The U.S. has made its irritants known. The booze ban, supply management, and the Online Streaming Act high on the list, with one source today quoting frustration from U.S. officials who said dealing with Canada has been a roller coaster.
He seems to go and socialize and come back empty-handed while the Mexicans have been in formal negotiations, eating our lunch for the last 6 months. I am concerned that Mr. LeBlanc goes down at a time when Mark Carney has led us into the only recession in the G7.
The Prime Minister, meanwhile, tried to downplay the idea Mexico is further ahead in talks.
There's a series of issues, technical issues that they have with Mexico, they have with us, which is why there's a bifurcated discussion. So 30 issues or so with us, more than almost 60, I think, with Mexico at current count. And so we're working through a series of those issues.
Mexico has already wrapped up one round of trade talks with the U.S. with 2 more set, leaving many worried about where that leaves Canada ahead of a July 1st deadline. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is back to talking about making Canada the 51st state. Referencing a recent news article about Canada's economic slowdown, he used it to argue that Canada should be a part of the U.S. Ontario Premier Doug Ford was quick to fire back.
Here goes President Trump again, 51st state. My message to the Americans, I love the American people, but we will never, ever be the 51st state. We're going to be proud to be Canadian. We're a sovereign country. Enough of the nonsense rubbish, I should say, from President Trump. I get tired of that guy. I'm going to keep fighting for Canada.
Ford added that in April, Ontario created 680% more jobs than in the U.S., adjusted for inflation. Florida has become the first U.S. state to sue OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman, accusing the company of misrepresenting the safety of its ChatGPT platform. The lawsuit cites a deadly shooting at a university in Tallahassee last year and a number of other events where ChatGPT allegedly provided information to people who went on to carry out violent acts. The lawsuit accuses OpenAI of negligence. Florida's legal action comes more than a month after 7 lawsuits were filed against OpenAI by families of victims of the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was grilled on Capitol Hill today about the Iran war and negotiations to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
We have other options available to us, but we would prefer to negotiate the opening of this, which
Okay,
means
so tell us about the negotiations. What do you need from them in order to get the strait reopened? We need the strait reopened tomorrow.
Rubio says Iran has to stop firing on ships and cannot charge tolls in the strait. Despite a shaky ceasefire, he says he's also optimistic about nuclear talks resuming with Tehran. Russia bombarded Ukraine overnight with a massive missile and drone attack. At least 18 people were killed, including 2 children. Russia unleashed one of its largest assaults in months against cities across Ukraine. At least 12 people were killed in Dnipro. 6 people died in Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says civilian buildings and energy facilities were targeted. Parts of Japan continue to be plagued by violent bear attacks. One recent dangerous encounter was caught on camera. From the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see a bear bolting towards a man. He tries to run away, but the bear catches him and throws him to the ground. Last year, a record 20 people were killed in more than 240 bear attacks across the country. And a rare phenomenon was spotted emerging from an active volcano in Hawaii. This whirlwind formed at Hawaii's Kilauea volcano. The local Hawaiian word for this kind of funnel cloud means swirling burst. Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes. Just ahead, outreach to anglophones.
I'd like to say a word about the importance of the English-speaking community in Quebec.
How it's being received by community leaders, and is it really a new message? Plus, forgetful Uber riders. You'd be surprised at the strange things some people leave behind after their ride. Premier Christine Fréchette spoke to a business crowd at the Montreal Chamber of Commerce yesterday. She emphasized the importance of protecting and promoting French in Quebec, but she also had a message for English-speaking Quebecers. And Sylvia Martin-Laforge was there to hear that message. Martin-Laforge is with TALK, formerly the Quebec Community Groups Network. Welcome. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into what the Premier said, I just wanted to note that it's been a year since your group rebranded from QCGN to TALK, spelled T-A-L-Q. So to mark that anniversary, I just want to take a moment to share sort of a lighthearted exchange during hearings at the National Assembly earlier this year.
Dans le fond, le TALK, c'est la nouvelle appellation du QCGN, je me trompe pas?
TikTok. Talk.
TikTok.
Not tick, just talk.
That made me laugh. I had to share it. So tell us a little bit.
It was a lighthearted moment. It was a lighthearted moment.
Yes, it was. So TALK, first of all, just remind us what those letters stand for.
Well, actually, it doesn't really mean anything. It's about dialogue. It's about advocacy. It's about living in Quebec. So while
we see it there behind you.
I know, it's a kind of a tagline. Let's put it that way.
All right. Okay. So TALK had a table yesterday at the Montreal Chamber of Commerce event. You heard the Premier's English remarks. You were right there. We're going to play a short clip and then we'll get your reaction.
I'd like to say a word about the importance of the English-speaking community in Quebec. My overarching responsibility to promote and protect French will not change. But tone matters. As the Premier of all Quebecers, I hope to bring a different tone to these discussions.
So what did you think?
Well, she's right. Tone does matter. And she spoke as well in that in her presentation about the vivre ensemble. So the tone to the English-speaking community, English-speaking Quebecers, and the friends of the English-speaking Quebecers is terrifically important to help us make a space for the vivre ensemble with all Quebecers. And so, you know, tone matters, but there's more than tone. There's legislation, there's regulation. So in French, there's an expression, suivre les bottines. So you have to walk your talk, right? Speaking of talk, you walk your talk.
Yeah. And speaking of French expressions, I'm wondering if it felt a bit like deja vu. I mean, I've covered politics for a long time, and these are certainly messages we've heard before. As a matter of fact, if you'll allow, we dug into the archives to see what previous Quebec premiers had to say to the province's anglophones. So let's take a look, and then we'll talk again.
The absolute respect of everyone's right in all aspects of their lives is a part of our deepest conviction.
To my fellow Anglo-Quebecers, I say, don't worry, your rights will be fully protected.
To our English-speaking fellow Quebecers, again, there are no different classes of Quebecers here, only one class, the first class. And English-speaking Quebecers are first-class Quebecers like all of us are.
Free yourself. Join the team for change.
And I want to assure you that my government will be your government.
So, I leave the floor to you.
What a great collage. Terrific work. You know, we're resilient. The English-speaking community, the English-speaking Quebecers are resilient. We have heard these things before. We do reach out. The talk has reached out. Other groups have reached out to the majority Quebecers in an effort to, as I said a few minutes ago, to really bring to life this vivre ensemble, but to maintain our rights. And so we will continue to do that. I think the only thing I can say is that we, as English-speaking Quebecers who are here, and to, you know, Quebecers who come to us from other provinces, other places in the world who speak English and need services in English, we have to continue to be very vigilant in reminding the Premier, meeting with us, and reminding the Premier that there is work to be done on all that legislation that has placed the last 8 years for the English-speaking community in a very frustrated place.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Sylvia Martin-Laforge, Director General of TALK, thank you for your time today, and I'm sure we will be speaking again soon, especially given that a provincial election is coming up in the fall.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you.
A federal court has ruled the Supreme Court does not need to translate a century worth of legal decisions. The ruling comes after a challenge from a group called Droit Collectif Québec. The group argued the absence of official French translations for Supreme Court decisions going back to 1877 was a violation of Canada's Official Languages Act. The court, though, concluded unilingual rulings made before 1969 were historical documents and did not fall under the jurisdiction of the act requiring bilingual decisions.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, it was a picture-perfect day in Montreal today. And believe it or not, it's about to get warmer and even sunnier as we head into our Wednesday. In terms of temperatures, we were above seasonal, seeing a daytime high of 25 when we typically be at 22. However, we did not smash this record from 1970 of 30.0 degrees. Now, putting our futurecast into motion, we will start to see some clearing of these clouds into the early morning hours, and we hold on to the clear skies to start the day, looking at sunshine pretty much throughout the day with mostly sunny skies skies for the afternoon. Into the evening, we do see a few clouds move in, but they should clear out in the morning on a Thursday. However, into the afternoon there, we are looking at a mix of sun and clouds. Overnight tonight, we are around seasonal in terms of our overnight low, 12 degrees. The clouds that we're seeing later this evening will clear out. Our winds are fairly calm at 10 kilometers an hour coming from the southwest, bringing up some warmer air. Sunshine to start tomorrow, and yes, that warmer air is going to create a daytime high of 28 degrees when we typically be at 22. And once again, mostly sunny skies is what we're dealing with. Now, it looks like our temperatures will continue to increase right before the weekend. So come Thursday, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds with 29 degrees, 28 on Friday with mostly cloudy skies, and we're estimating around 3 millimeters of rain later in the day. Come Saturday, though, we'll see 14 millimeters of rain, and our temperatures take a slight dip to 23 degrees, still 1 degree above seasonal. 21 is what we're forecasting for Sunday, with 3 millimeters of rain there. Come Monday, though, we see those temperatures boost once again for the second week of June, calling for a daytime high of 26 degrees with a mix of sun and clouds. We start to see more sunshine on Tuesday with 28 as the daytime high. Now, Environment and Climate Change Canada has said that the first half of the month is going to be slightly above seasonal, and we can even see that in our long-range forecast with the exception of the weekend. So far, the temperatures are trending upwards, and it looks like summer is here.
There are some changes coming to the REM schedule starting this weekend. Throughout June, July, and most of August, the REM will only start running at 7:30 a.m. That's 2 hours later than usual. And there will be some days in June and July when the REM will only open at noon. The delays will allow more time for maintenance work and to help connect the airport branch to the rest of the network. Meantime, the proposed high-speed rail line between Ottawa and Montreal is facing a new roadblock. Some Eastern Ontario communities are refusing to grant access to municipal land. Dylan Dyson explains.
People are walking there, especially with the animals. Bourget resident Jerry DeArmo lives across from the now defunct Bourget train station and does not want to see rail tracks replace this recreational trail. I don't think it's a good idea. How are you going to take care of the public? You know. It's a concern many in Eastern Ontario share as Alto continues to scout the area for pathways to build its high-speed rail line. Last week, the mayors of Prescott and Russell unanimously agreed to deny Alto access to municipal lands for surveying possible routes and refused to sign non-disclosure agreements surrounding the project.
The fact that they want us to sign an NDA means that they know exactly where this is going and they just don't want to tell us. That's not a transparent way to essentially get access to a community.
In December, the City of Ottawa announced it had signed an NDA to gain access to Alto's rail project. Alto has said it would prefer the line follow existing corridors. The mayor of Clarence Rockland is worried about the possibility of the rail project cutting straight through Bourget.
There is a secondary map. This is one that follows the 417, and I think most mayors are actually urging them to follow the 417, cross over, take the 401. That is where the train belongs. That is where Via Rail goes, and it works perfectly fine.
Xanth says the Alto line cutting through Clarence Rockland would result in at least 14 roads blocked and less access for emergency services. While Alto has no finalized route, there are calls for the Crown Corporation to be more transparent.
You can't consult on a train you already have an outcome for. They already know where this thing is going. Is that really a consultation? Or is it an information session?
The problem with high-speed rail is it needs to be a very, very straight track, which means they can't maneuver it around people and communities and farms.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News.
Uber has released its 2026 Lost and Found Index, a look at the items riders left behind in vehicles across Canada over the past year. Phones, wallets, and bags, as you can imagine, top the list of the most commonly forgotten items. But Uber says some riders also left behind some unusual things, including a frozen turkey in Toronto, a full set of goalie pads in Edmonton, and a violin case here in Montreal. Uber says Saskatoon is Canada's most forgetful city. Still to come, a mother's cry for help.
I'm not exaggerating. I was on my knees in tears. And I said, I'm not leaving here until I get some help.
Frustration and desperation as Canadians try to navigate the healthcare system. And why the grass is suddenly greener in a small community in Ontario.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
The vast majority of Canadians want to see changes to the healthcare system. That's according to a new Nanos poll. There's growing frustration with long wait times and chronic understaffing. Andrew Johnson reports.
She got her own bowl of Cheerios last week for the first time.
Jen Dunn still remembers how she got her daughter Kaya, who has severe autism, a referral to a pediatrician. How could she forget?
I'm not exaggerating. I was on my knees in tears. And I said, I'm not leaving here until I get some help. Nobody will help me.
Hours spent in waiting rooms or months on referral lists. Don't pass quickly.
Any kid on the spectrum, it's just so hard for them to wait.
Dunn's number one focus is her daughter, but her own care situation is bleak. She last had a family doctor a decade and a half ago.
I was pregnant with my daughter, and she just turned 16. I have gone on extensive wait lists, but I never get, it's like a lottery to get in.
Dunn's experience is echoed in a new Nanos research poll of 1,000 Canadians who most commonly named long waits their number one healthcare concern, followed by poor access to services and shortages of both doctors and staff. More than 90% of Canadians polled say something needs to change. More than 2/3 are open or somewhat open to having providers use AI to assist with diagnosis and treatment plans. 60% expressed openness to allowing private organizations to deliver publicly funded surgeries and diagnostic tests to reduce wait times.
The health system generally is so hard to turn this big ship around, whether it comes to using virtual care, allowing health professionals to use AI, allowing health professionals to do more of the things that traditionally doctors would do.
Only 14% of Canadians polled believe the healthcare system is headed in the right direction. No matter the solution, and a fix won't be simple, almost everyone agrees something is seriously wrong. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Statistics Canada is beginning in-person follow-up visits with households that have not yet completed the census. Millions of Canadians have already responded online, on paper, or by phone. Census enumerators will begin contacting households that did not fill out the questionnaire by phone and by going door to door. They can also help people complete the form. Census data helps guide decisions about programs, services, and infrastructure in communities across Canada.
Business News, brought to you by Oview Duluth, supporting families of sick children throughout the month of June.
We have an update now on home sales in the key BC market of Vancouver. Marilla Fernandez has details.
Home sales in Metro Vancouver were down almost 4% in May compared to May of 2025. The biggest weight on the sector, apartment sales. They were down about 7%. The benchmark price of a home is also down year over year by more than 6%. For May, it was just over $1,100,000. The benchmark price for an apartment specifically in Metro Vancouver was just under $700,000. Here are the closing numbers for the day. Canadian dollar up a fraction to 72.27. West Texas Intermediate up to 93.53. Western Canadian Select is down to 71.43. And the TSX popped up over 400 points today for a new record close of 35,169. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Montreal's Pride Festival has unveiled its program for the summer. The 10-day-long event will start July 31st and feature events throughout the village. More than 150 local artists will perform or have their artwork on display. The outdoor shows on St. Catherine Street and Papineau will feature everything from drag queens to stand-up comedy to opera.
La fierté is essential for Montreal's vitality. Very happy to be here, see the new programming. I want to interest all Montrealers to get involved and to actually come and party in the village because there's going to be a lot going on in the next month.
This year, the Pride Parade will be on Sunday, August 9th on René Lévesque Boulevard. The team from Panama will be arriving in Canada early for the FIFA World Cup. The players will have exactly the right kind of turf to practice on when they set up their training camp in a small community in Ontario. Rob Cooper has that story.
This is the Green Horizon sod that was laid at the Nottawasaga Inn for FIFA.
It's a special blend of Kentucky bluegrass required for all FIFA pitches for the upcoming World Cup. The grass has been laid out at the Nottawasaga Resort in Alliston as it prepares to host the men's team from Panama. They'll be here in about a week and stay for just under a month.
Well, being chosen as the only resort in Canada to actually host and be a base camp for FIFA, for Panama, total honor, absolute honor.
This is not the first time the resort has been selected by another country as a training facility. Germany used the facility in 1994 prior to the World Cup held in the United States. The resort had to meet certain and specific requirements to host the team from Panama. New grass had to be shipped in from Hamilton, and so far, so good, according to the staff.
Extremely happy with the time frame that we had to put this sod in, and with 4 weeks of growth. Seams are hidden now, the roots have taken root, and the field looks really good.
Ironically, the Nottawasaga Resort was once home to a sod business. This month, it will be home to a World Cup club, with the World Cup itself just over a week away. FIFA first booked the local resort 7 years ago.
The pitch went under a huge renovation late this fall, and throughout the winter we worked on the field to get it to the stage that it needs to be to meet the FIFA spec that they're looking for.
Team Panama expected to arrive at the resort on June 7th and is expected to be here for about 3 weeks. Rob Cooper, CTV News, Alliston.
The Stanley Cup final begins tonight with the Carolina Hurricanes hosting the Vegas Golden Knights.
Carolina, now Spankovic to the net, score!
Of course, we all know how the Hurricanes earned their spot at the Cup. Vegas swept the Colorado Avalanche to secure their spot in the final. Carolina is making its first appearance in the final since winning the Stanley Cup in 2006, while Vegas is playing for the NHL's top trophy for the third time in its 9-season history. And time to check in now with Caroline. Caroline, we've been hearing a lot about a possible ban on energy drinks, and that issue is on the agenda tonight at a Rosemere Council meeting.
Yes, Maya, ever since the death of a teen who consumed an energy drink while taking medication for his ADHD, his parents and others have pushed for bans on their sales to minors. Zachary Miron was only 15, and he attended a school in Rosemere before his death. So now that town wants the right to ban sales of energy drinks at all of its sports and recreation centers, and for the government to ban it to anyone under 16. And there was a stabbing at a Walmart in Montreal North this afternoon. The victim in that incident is possibly also a minor. We'll have all the details at 11:30 tonight. Maya.
All right, thank you very much, Caroline. Up next, making sure prom night is inclusive for all. For many teens, prom night is a rite of passage, but for students with special needs, barriers can make celebrating complicated. So an event in Ottawa aims to make sure everyone feels included and everyone can make memories. Leah LaRocque reports.
It's time for prom, and Max Nantel is ready to party.
What we're about to go through is the last final day of an amazing prom.
The graduating student has had some learning challenges in high school.
My special needs is a bit of dyslexia, frustration problems, anger problems.
But here, everyone is celebrated for exactly who they are.
Everyone matters. Well, so do people with special needs. They matter too, and it's important that we remind ourselves that people with special needs matter.
The dresses.
My favorite color is purple.
The music. All the ingredients of a classic prom.
Prom is amazing.
But all of the details are designed for people with disabilities and accessibility needs.
It's everything down to the level of music, the volume level of music, the types of lighting. We have everything on a slow fade rather than a flash.
Evelyn needing to take a moment to herself in a safe space.
My anxiety takes over every time, and I have a hard time, so I have to wear my headphones every time.
This is the second year that Pathways Prom has put on this event, and part of what makes it so accessible is that it's all free and held during the day, so teachers and educational assistants can come help celebrate.
Educational assistant Keith Rowe will soon say goodbye to Madison.
And now I get to celebrate her rite of passage from graduating this year.
For families, it's a proud moment.
Prom's a big thing, right, for everybody? So why can't they celebrate too? And look at them all, they're having a blast.
Here you go.
And for Max, prom is also a chance to say thank you to everyone.
I have people who help me in school, and I have people outside of school that help me. I had to give a lot of credit to my mother, who showed me a large part of my life that made me happy.
Leah LaRocque, CTV News.
It's hard to believe it's prom season already, Lauren, but what beautiful weather we're having for it. In fact, a friend of mine, her daughter graduated today, and we were saying it's a picture-perfect day.
Oh, I
Congrats,
love
by
that.
the way, Erin.
Oh, shout out to Erin. Congrats. Well, if you're graduating tomorrow, it's going to be even nicer and warmer, more sunshine. So not a bad time to be graduating, that's for sure. Overnight tonight, we're seeing clearings of the clouds. 12 degrees will be our overnight low. We start the day off with sunshine. 14 degrees when you head out the door in the morning. We'll see the mercury climb to 28 with mostly sunny skies. And a reminder, we typically be around 22, so it's certainly going to be warmer and sunnier as we head into our Wednesday.
Thanks, Lauren, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. Have a good evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.